Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And there's now less than a week to go in the January transfer window. And despite having done a lot of business with the likes of Andre Santos, David Fofana, Badia Shil, Mudryk, all coming through the door, there's still room for more incomings at Chelsea. You know, is it going to be Caicedo? Is it going to be Malo from Lyon, the right back, which looking like it could be getting closer? Is it going to be Enzo Fernandez? Or not. You know, there's lots of questions to ask. Could Hakim Ziyech be moving out the door as well? Reports today coming out that Everton might have tabled a £25 million bid for him. Can't see how he fancies a move to them, but you just never know. But yeah, let's get into it. Lawrence, thanks for coming as always, bro. Massively appreciated. What have you made of the window so far?
Well, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because like we're on the verge of, if we get certain other last couple of players, we could have the best January window in history of football, because who's done what we've done in January if we add those two more? But if we now, Malo is looking more and more likely, but say we don't get a right back and we don't get a midfielder, or we get another like Saul type loan until the summer where it's like, okay, what do we do with that now? Then it could go back down to like a 5, out of 10 in terms of if you rate it. So it's a weird one. I still think a lot of it depends on what we do in that last week, which I know sounds harsh of me to say because we've literally signed 6 players already. But, I mean, Fofana, I have no problem with him, but he's not a necessary signing that we needed for the squad. How much is he going to play? He played that half against City. Again, that was lost by that point already anyway, and hasn't seen the light of day since. Now, Andre Santos, I'm not sure the work permit situation, but at least he's like young. He's 18. Yeah. When someone's 18, I'm like, okay, I can see that, you have a few years until I expect you to be at that level. But Fofana is already 20. 20 and 18 to me is quite a big difference in terms of where you should be. Like, think about where Mason Mount was at 20 and think about where Mason Mount was at 18. And, disregard where Mason Mount is right now. But, maybe I should have said Reece James. But just an example. But obviously, the Mudryk thing looks certainly good. Yeah, a lot of money, but looks good so far. So I'm excited. Let's see about Madueke if he can stay fit. Seems like an exciting player. It's just a question, can he stay fit? And who else have we signed?
Badia Shil looks fucking good as well.
Felix, obviously. Yeah. Well, the red card kind of ruined that one. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the Felix one. I don't want to get too excited and too attached because I'm not fully sold that we're going to buy him permanently. Because I know Pice keeps saying, oh, Nkunku is going to play up front. And then Felix behind him. But Nkunku is 5'10". Like, are we really going to play a guy that's 5'10" up front, like, every game? Like, I'm not saying he can't be that as an option, but is that going to be a starting option? And if he's not, then who is? And then are we really going to have Nkunku and Felix? I still doubt.
I still think we might buy a 9. I still think we could buy a 9 in the summer.
Didn't Fabrizio say yesterday that we might be in the striker market in the summer?
Maybe a Dusan Vlahovic, maybe a Victor Osimhen. But those two will be the big names that could be on the move this summer. But I still think we could be getting a 9. But then there's so many. But then you think there's so many forward players. So if you got Mudryk and Madueke one side with Sterling as a rotation option or whatever, you got Nkunku, if you add João Felix, and then if you sign a 9 on top of that as well, I mean, the squad depth's phenomenal. It's great, but who's going to play where? If Kai Havertz stays at the club, there's another option there. Admittedly, he's not been great, but there's still, there's so many different possibilities. But let's get into the ones, the deals at the moment that could or could not be closed by the end of the week. Obviously, the market moves very quickly. Just because nothing seems to have happened sort of today, really doesn't mean that nothing's going on. It doesn't mean you couldn't suddenly be met with bang tomorrow. Right, deal for Caicedo done along those lines. But mate, just before I got to it, before we come on, literally a few minutes. I don't know how reliable this guy is, but he's from the Telegraph, so it must be reasonably good. Apparently, I haven't read the article because it's behind the paywall, but Arsenal are exploring a possible move for Brighton's Moises Caicedo as they consider their midfield options this month. Now, this for me could be one of two things. This is either Brighton potentially saying, I don't know if Brighton have got anything to do with this to try and get Chelsea to up their bid or whatever it is, or this is Arsenal just, I don't know, trying to shit ourselves back for the Mudryk thing. Yeah. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, do you read anything into it? Do you think Arsenal could be interested, but I mean, the chances of Arsenal making a move with less than a week to go, I mean, would you expect that?
No, not really. But, if Arsenal get Caicedo, then that means they're not getting Rice. So would I be that bothered in the grand scheme of things? Because I still think we should be getting Rice personally. Not now, I'm aware, but in the summer. And I know we need a midfielder right now. I'm also aware of that. That's why I would prefer Enzo, because I see Enzo and Caicedo and Rice working together, while I see Rice and Caicedo not working together. So I'm like, okay, if we sign Caicedo, we're not getting Rice in my eyes. Again, I could be wrong, but that's how I view it at this time. So I wouldn't be too upset, but I doubt it. Like, if we can't afford it, Arsenal can't afford it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a fair point. But just on Caicedo himself, mate, what are your thoughts on it? Because, obviously Ornstein reported, I think it must have been last week now, that, we'd had a £55 million bid in writing turned down, Brighton wanting more. Was like that from 70.
Ornstein, yeah?
Yeah, that was from Ornstein last week, yeah. So we've had a 55 million bid turned down. Brighton want more like £75 million plus. Do you think, and then it's Duncan Castles yesterday in the Times saying that Brighton actually might want 100 million for him. But at the same time, Castles has to be taken with a bit of a pinch of salt because he's very closely linked to George Mendes and whatnot as well. So, I mean, I don't know if that's anything to do with this, but I mean,
George Mendes is only
that's the Enzo thing.
Right?
That's the Enzo thing. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember who reported the 100 mil now. It might not have even been him. But anyway, I
think you're right. I think it was.
I don't think it was him. But for me, I think that's nonsense. I think that's just Brighton saying that because they want to try and ward off Chelsea because they don't want to lose one of their best players, essentially. I mean, do you read too much into that 100 million valuation report? They'll never get 100 million for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if I should read something into it because, like, at the end of the day, if they want that, well, then we're not buying him. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not getting that. So then, okay. If you want to ask crazy money, then okay. Then you're just not getting any money. Fair enough then. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see by the end of the window. And then it's just going to be the debate, well, did we not buy, if we don't buy him, did we not buy him because we didn't want to pay 75? Or did we not buy him can't speak, man. Because did we not buy him because we can't pay 100 million or didn't want to? I don't know. But I mean, I'm not sure if you were going to bring it up anyway, but I swear there have been reports that Brighton are also looking at midfield options. And
yes, they've had a bid. I don't know if a bid or they were. I don't know. They made an approach to Leipzig for Mamadou Haidara. I don't know if it's been. I don't know if it was an official bid or if it was just an inquiry or what it was. But it obviously indicates that Brighton are looking at other alternative options, which means they may well be. Which means they're open to selling Caicedo this month, possibly, or they're looking at or they're expecting Chelsea to go back in with a bid that matches their offer, that matches their valuation. I guess you could look into that, or they might just be looking to improve their squad depth in the midfield. Who knows? But I mean,
do Brighton have that kind of money to keep Caicedo and add someone like Haidara? Do they need
how much
that
how much does Haidara cost, do you reckon? 40 million? 30 million? I don't know.
Million, I would assume. I would guess.
That is a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially, like, obviously, it's a lot of money on its own anyway, but without them selling Caicedo, do they have that money lying around? I mean, I know every Premier League club has a good bit of money lying about, but like, they're only one competition. So, like, why do they need to add so much more depth? But it's certain one thing's in my eyes for sure. If they are looking for another midfielder, there is no way they're asking 100 million for Caicedo, because the only scenario in which I could see them at least exploring midfield options is if they have, like, maybe they do it for depth as well. That's fair. But I still think they would do it just in case Chelsea, maybe Arsenal apparently, turns up in, like, and just pays, and then they don't want to be left scrambling in the last 1 or 2, 3 days to get something. Yeah. So that's why, and I feel like if they actually quoted him at 100, costing 100 million, I don't think they would expect anyone to get anywhere near that. So, no. But hey, that's just me making my mind up with the information we're given rather than me knowing. But hey, I mean, I prefer Enzo, but if we're going to get Caicedo, I'm happy with it, but we just need some midfielder. Now, it's been reported that if it's not any of those two, we have contingency plans, potential like loans and stuff, which I'm like, that's okay. Depends on who it is, though. Because
I mean, it could be anyone at this point, couldn't it? The loan, because no one really expected Zakaria, no one expected Saul. I mean, Frank Kessie has been ruled out. That was a possible option that was kind of being touted around. So I don't really know what other options there are. I mean, if you believe the Matt Law article, we potentially tried to do something for Yves Bissouma at Spurs, but I don't know how. I don't know how true or how far we kind of looked into that. But
Fabrizio even if we try, we're never going to get a Spurs player, are we? So.
No, Fabrizio just saying now that, you know, 3 clubs are exploring Caicedo deal after this new agent's statement. Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool are informed of the situation as revealed on Monday. Brighton not intentioned to sell unless they receive a huge proposal. Mate, we know we're desperate for a midfield
Especially
player.
He says a really huge proposal, which,
yeah.
You know, what does Fabrizio mean by that?
Mate, we need a midfield player. We'll get on to Enzo shortly, which is unlikely to happen. Do you just think we should just put the money on the table for Caicedo, or do you think we should just wait till the summer and where there's more options, where there's the Rice option, where there's an option for Bellingham, where there's an option for Enzo again? Or do you just think, actually, you know, let's just sign Caicedo and do it?
Well, what I really want us to do is put an offer to Benfica of 130 million euros and tell them we're going to pay 130 million, but in installments. That's what I want us to try and see if they say no to that. Because obviously they're going to say no. If they want the release clause, obviously they're going to say no to anything lower than the release clause and in installments. Because what benefit do they have from that? But if you offer more than the release clause, but then therefore in installments though, I want to see what they say to that. Now that was the rumors at the very beginning of the transfer window. That's what we're going to do. I mean, KSA man says it 160 with tax. That's with the release clause. That's why I'm like, sod the release clause. Just like offer 130 million. Say like we're going to pay 60 up front or whatever. And then the next one is 30 and whatever else, whatever the installments maybe. I don't care. Just figure out. That's what I really want us to do. And hey, if they say no, they say no. But I want us to try that because I still feel like would Benfica really turn down extra money from the release clause?
But surely if we were going to do that and that was an option, why have we not already done it?
No, I agree. So I don't think it's going to happen. But if you ask me what I want us to do, then that.
Yeah.
In terms of Caicedo, it depends on what the price is, right? Because
if it was 75 all in, but like that was like with add-ons and shit included, and maybe say like the base fee up front was like, I don't know, if it was like 50 or 55 mil with say 20 mil or 25 mil add-ons, that's not that bad. And also the fact is though, we
more
want
expensive than Mudryk.
Well, possibly, but in terms of like also though, we could
62 up front.
Yeah, but also we could spread the cost of the contract across the years. Spread the cost across the years of the contract, and obviously with UEFA bringing in that 5-year thing from the summer, it makes me think that actually Chelsea could actually spend big money on a midfield player this window because that we can still use the long-term contracts to kind of balance it off. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea perhaps did go in with a bid for Caicedo in and around that £70 million mark, maybe total package, and kind of see what happens from there. In terms of Caicedo himself, mate, like what do you think of him? Do you think he improves the midfield?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he improves the midfield.
Man, it wouldn't be hard to be honest.
Yeah, no, that number one. I mean, I have a few reservations, not necessarily because I don't think he's good enough, more because I'm like, is he the type of player that we need and want in number 2? If Potter does, amazing. But maybe not me, because I'm like, do I want another? Like, Kante is amazing at what Kante did and does. And Caicedo isn't exactly like him, but I do see certain similarities where I'm like...
I didn't realize he was only 21 still.
No, me neither. I learned that like a week or two ago because I thought he was like 24 or 25.
Yeah.
Which makes the whole thing a lot more impressive, which since I've learned that, I'm like, oh, okay. So you're this good already now, then at 21, because that's more impressive than you being this good at 25 in my head.
Yeah.
Or 24. So, you know, that is, like, I'd be down. Hey, again, I keep saying this. People make the big fuss about, oh, how much money we pay. I'm going to trust the people that are in charge of the club that the money side is going to be under control. Like, whether we sign the right players or not, that is a different question. What we've done so far in January looks good, absolutely. Yeah. But I'm not concerned about the money bit. If they decide we can afford something, I'm sure we can afford that without that having repercussions. Because I think they're businessmen, so they're not going to have problems with having the money under control. That's my opinion. Like, again, could be me being naive or an idiot, I don't know, but that's what I feel like. I feel like if they're going to have something under control, it's the business and the money side of things. So if they say we can afford 75 million and that's what it needs, well, then go for it and get it. So then I'm not going to sit and complain, oh, it's too expensive. I don't care then. Like, to me, whether he costs 75, 65, 55, does it make really a difference? If he's good for us, we're going to think it's great, no matter whether it's 55 or 75. And if he's bad for us, we're going to think it's bad, no matter whether it's 55 or 75. So to me, that part doesn't really make that much of a difference. Just get it done. And
yeah,
the one complaint I do have is it's January 25th. Why? I mean, someone said it earlier in the chat. We do have to remember that these guys will probably want replacements. So the later you do something in the window, the higher their demands are going to be, because they're going to have less time to find replacements. So, and I understand that totally as well. So that's the only part I don't think we've done particularly well, is how we've gone about, like the Enzo thing. We've clearly pissed them off, and then we gave it a week or two to approach them again. If we didn't piss them off in the first place, we wouldn't have had to wait a week or two after, right? So, that clearly didn't exactly go to plan. Even if maybe we didn't do everything wrong, that's fine. We only heard really the Benfica side of the story, okay? But certainly we could have done things a little bit better, I think. And then on Caicedo, if you're like, find out if we can do Enzo, yes or no. And if it's no, then leave it. It's done. Don't go back and talk to them again 2 weeks later. If we can't afford it at 120 and they're not willing to do it for anything less, well, then so be it. But then focus on Caicedo and properly go in on it. Yeah. I just want us to like decide on something and like go for one. But hey, at least the Malo thing seems to be happening. Although I wouldn't be like, what would you think? Sorry if you don't want me to change that topic.
No, it's fine, mate.
But there was a few talks about maybe we buy him now, but loan him back.
Well, absolutely not. I'd rather just pay more and have him now. Like, we need to right back now. What's the point in buying him and then loaning him back for the summer? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But I'll come back to that in a sec. In terms of Zubimendi, I don't actually know that much about him. I know he plays for Sociedad, decent player. He's going to be a free agent in the summer. I wasn't aware of that.
I didn't know that bit, to be honest.
I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not suggesting it's not true, but I mean, I would have thought if someone like Zubimendi was available on a free in the summer, surely there would have been a lot more traction and interest in a player of his qualities. Maybe not, but
sorry, I just Googled him because I wanted to know a bit more about him than I already did. And the first video that suggested is him being linked to Arsenal, which I'm like, well, maybe we should.
Well, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's quickly talk about Enzo then, because why not? Obviously, Fabrizio saying that Chelsea there was no what do you call it? Let me just get it up now. Chelsea approached Benfica and Enzo Fernandez 1 week ago. No changes. Costa has been very clear: 120 million euros or nothing. No fresh proposals and no new contact with Benfica. So situation is very much as it stands. And also, he was also going on to say that Benfica told Chelsea last week there's no way for different payment terms for Enzo. It's the release clause or nothing. So if that's the case, which I think it's pretty obvious it is, we don't want to pay the release clause. Why are these stories still coming out? And why are we seemingly wasting time on this when there's obviously no deal to be done unless we pay the release clause in full, which we've indicated that we do not want to do. So I don't understand why reports are still coming out about this, why we're kind of still looking at it, because we know what we have to do to get him. And that's it. Yes, Chelsea have got like the buy-in from the players' side in terms of Enzo would be happy to come, and personal terms and shit wouldn't be a problem. But we know from Benfica that they want the release clause or nothing. So, like, can you understand why we're still sort of entertaining this when we know what the stipulations are? We don't want to meet them. So what are we doing?
The only thing I can imagine, is that we're like, maybe Benfica think we can pay it, and that's why they are so absolutely unwilling to budge from it, because they're like, well, we think you can pay it, so they maybe have the hope of, if they don't budge, they get the full thing. And then I guess the other question is, because we're always told that, because we've never been told we will be in trouble if we buy him for the release clause. We were always told we could be in trouble with financial fair play if we do buy him. So I, again, might just be me being naive or clutching at straws, but I still always have this at the back of my mind. Maybe we're just trying to see if we can do it for, let's see if we can. And if we can't by, say, January 30th or whatever, we're just going to be like, screw it. We're just going to pay it. if there is a feasible way in which we can.
I guess,
but obviously, especially since we heard how much it costs with tax and everything, very difficult. But maybe we're also going to give him a 12.5-year deal. So.
I guess with Benfica as well, though, they're kind of in a tricky situation where they're thinking this now is probably the most amount of money they could possibly get for Enzo off the back of World Cup tax, as it were. This is probably the most he could be worth. If it goes to the summer, they won't get the release clause in the summer. And I don't think they'd get as much in the summer.
That's what I'm not like. Why are we so sure about that?
Well, I've kind of just assumed that. I think I've got absolutely zero way of quantifying that or backing it up, other than just a hunch that I just don't think they'd get as much money now as they would in the summer. But that could be totally wrong. I mean, it could be more of a bidding war in the summer because you'd imagine that Real Madrid would come in.
And also, Bellingham is only going to go one club.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So whoever he doesn't go to will want another top midfielder. So that's why I'm not so sure. Will they not still get that money in the summer? Maybe that's also their hope, that they get the same, if not more, in the summer. I don't know. Like, I think you make a good point. If he doesn't have an amazing second half of the season, it's not going to get bigger than winning the World Cup, will it? But will that winning the World Cup, winning young player of the tournament, will that fade by June? Like, June is not that far away. We're nearly February already.
Yeah, no, it's not far away. I don't know, but I mean, mate, do you think that if it does go to this, do you think for us then it's very much if we want to see Enzo play for Chelsea, it's got to be done this month. If it goes to the summer and it goes to a bit of an auction, with the fact that we're probably not going to get any European football, well, certainly Champions League football, it seems unlikely. Yeah. Do you think it's now or never for us? I'd be shocked if we could get him in the summer.
I do. It's an interesting one because obviously, who are the big clubs that are the number one have been linked with him? But obviously, there could be new links come the summer. But which clubs are apparently looking for a midfielder? Liverpool, Real Madrid,
PSG are always keen, aren't they?
Yeah, big players. Man City.
I'm sure Barcelona could probably pull about 10 more levers and try and find space.
I feel like Barcelona will keep buying more free agents. I feel like Barcelona might not be the biggest competition for this one. But hey, I thought that.
But mate, they'll put their name in. They'll chuck their name in the ring. I reckon they would.
It is true, and hey, Barcelona, especially for an Argentinian, will always have a pull just because of that's where Messi obviously created the legacy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'd be surprised if we could get him in the summer, but I don't know. Do you really think I'm not saying
especially
he's not a good
with
player.
The 5-year thing from the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good player because he is, but a lot of people make out that it'd be a disaster if we didn't get him. I'm not sure it would be that bad. Yeah, it'd be great to get him, but I don't think it's the end of the world if we don't. If we ended up with Caicedo now and Rice in the summer, is Caicedo and Rice really a disaster? I don't think it is.
I don't think they work together, Well, I say
so you think an Enzo and Rice would be better, or Enzo and Caicedo is better?
Yeah. Just because I see, well, obviously Caicedo could maybe be morphed into slightly other things, considering he's only 21, but he plays in the double pivot with Brighton, and he's the more defensive of the two.
So he plays with McAllister in that too, doesn't he? It's him and Alexis McAllister in the
exactly,
pivot.
And McAllister is the more offensive of the two.
Mate, that's mad, by the way, that McAllister's in a pivot.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is true. He used to be a number 10 apparently, and Potter just kind of turned him into that second 6, but obviously a more offensive 6, like a Kovacic is no real 6 either.
Mate, I quite like McAllister as well. I wouldn't be against that either. I know it's another Brighton player, but he's a good player.
He's a good player, mate. Like you could argue that McAllister and Rice would make more sense. I feel like McAllister. How old is McAllister? I
don't know. He must be 25, 26. Is he a bit more?
24. And he turns, when's his birthday? Does it say anywhere? He turned 24 in December on Christmas.
Oh, mate, he's only just been 24 then. I mean, that's young still, isn't it?
It's basically the same age as Subimendi. He turns 24 in February.
Mate, he won't be at Brighton next season, McAllister. I mean, that's probably another name we might be looking at. I don't really know, but you think that Enzo would offer something? Would you be disappointed if we didn't get him? In terms of do you think that's a massive problem in terms of the midfield rebuild?
For me, I mean, it's a tough one to say. I'm very I try to be just realistic and logical about these types of things. So I'm well, if he's too expensive, then what can I do? then what can we do? Like, then I'm not going to cry about it too much. But if we find out that there was a chance and we kind of decided against it, then I would be gutted by that, if that makes sense. But if we're just priced out, well, then we're priced out. Money doesn't grow on trees. I mean, kind of, but you get what I mean.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't grow on trees. So if it's too expensive, then it's too expensive. What are we going to do? Like, Benfica own him. Benfica set the rules. It is what it is. But it's a difficult one for me because I agree, like, I don't think it's the end of the world if it's not Enzo. My only problem with it is, name me one player basically in the world that is like the comment says, name me players that are like Enzo that are available, or even anyone. Like, name me one that can do everything Enzo can, who you can be like, get instead. That's why I think it's a bit more complicated. And that's why I'm like, if there is a chance, do it.
What about Jude Bellingham?
I just don't think we stand a chance, if I'm honest, mate.
We're definitely going to try. I'm sure we're going to try.
Well, unless we get Enzo before, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't get Enzo and we end up getting Bellingham, would you be happy with that?
Yeah,
you must be happy with that. Yeah,
I'd be very happy with that.
Do you think there's much difference in quality between the two of them? I mean, personally, if I had a toss-up between the two, I'd rather have Bellingham. No English bias. I just think the kid's an absolute baller. Like, he's such a good player. I'm not saying that Enzo's not, but I mean, would you, if you had a choice between him and Bellingham, who would you have?
It's difficult because I think Bellingham will become the better player, maybe, in terms of total package. But in terms of what Chelsea miss and lack, I think Enzo fits that better. Because Bellingham is great at a lot of things, but he's also tall, he can dribble, which is like a serious goal threat, also getting in and around the box, like an attacking 8 type thing does. I don't think, like, while Enzo's biggest main strength to me is passing, and like, maybe I've just not seen those kind of crazy bits of Bellingham in that sense, but I feel like whenever I see Bellingham do spectacular things that everyone goes crazy about.
Did you see that skill he did the other day?
Exactly.
Mate, that was naughty. It was
exactly. Although everything Bellingham does there, I'm like, well, Sancho did. So, and he's
it's actually mad, like, how at his age, he's Dortmund's best player easily.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and he's an absolute wonder kid. No doubt about it. But like I say, like, when he does things that are spectacular, it's either like a great goal, like a volley, it's a dribble, it's a skill move. It's never. Again, maybe I've just missed something, but I feel like it's never the outrageous passes. Well, I feel like what we're missing is the outrageous passes, and I think Enzo gives us that. That's why maybe if I was given the choice between the two, I might pick Enzo, even though I think Bellingham could total package-wise become the better player in, like, by the end. By the time they're both in their peak. But I just feel like
I'd love
maybe
to see
we
Bellingham,
need someone like Enzo a bit more because there's less like him.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I guess, I mean, the reality is that for what we're looking for is you're shopping in a list of players that are going to make a massive difference to the midfield, and you're shopping over a list of about 4 players. You're looking at Moise Caicedo, you're looking at Enzo, Declan Rice, and Jude Bellingham. Maybe you might look at Kone at Mönchengladbach as kind of a next level down sort of thing, but you're shopping for on a list of 4 or 5 players when 3 to 4 teams are going to be looking for midfield players in the summer. So there's not very many options in terms of terms of changing things about. So, mate, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Can I just throw a rogue shout out there, by the way?
Mate,
not something we've ever been linked with or anything. But I think we should knock on the door and see what Goretzka has to say from Bayern.
Goretzka, yeah.
Just to see what he says, because Bayern keep buying midfielders who are not good enough to start over Kimmich and Goretzka. So I'm like, because now they signed this other Austrian, Konrad Laimer. Last year or 2 years ago, they signed Sabitzer.
Isn't Laimer's a good player though, isn't he?
He's a good player, absolutely. But is he going to play over Goretzka? I feel like no. So maybe now that they have this surplus, arguably, of players, well, they still don't have more than one right back, which I still don't really understand. I know they have Pavard, but I still don't count him as a right back in my head. Again, it's just a rogue shout, but I'm like, at least ask what that situation is. That's all I'm saying.
Mate, it's talking of rogue shouts whilst we're on it. Gundogan's out of contract in the summer at City. He could still end up renewing. Seems unlikely at the moment. He's not. I think he's a great player. But he's not really, for me, he's not really the profile that we'd need. Oh, I don't know if Chelsea need to sign a player like Gundogan. I mean, what would your thoughts be on that? I mean, this is all hypotheticals, really, but do you think Gundogan would be a good fit?
Yeah, very interesting, isn't it? Because I think City turned him into a bit of a different player than he used to be. Like now he's kind of become
Dortmund,
this,
he was very much a holder, wasn't he? But now he's
yeah,
more like
exactly.
he's more like a box-to-box player.
Yeah, and midfield engine that somehow has the greatest late runs into the box I've ever seen since that Frank Lampard. Like how the guys, especially last season, scored as many goals as he did, to me, absolutely mental. How he does this, and how he always turns up and no one tracks him. And he's just, he's not quick, he's not strong, but he's just always right there. Like, but we're Chelsea, so I feel like those types of players, they never work for us.
No,
also,
it's
with
a fair
the types of players we're interested in under this ownership, are we really likely to go for someone like Gundogan? Even Goretzka, probably not.
It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit what we're trying to do, and this is where like I'm not annoyed by the strategy. But part of me is also like, all right, this strategy is great that we're trying to get young and hungry players in through the door. But I think we've also got to look at a bargain when we see one and not be afraid to go for it if it's there. Do you know what I mean? Like under this regime, for example, I don't think we signed Thiago Silva on a free transfer. In fact, I'm almost certain we don't. So, there's got to be kind of a balance there where, just because if an older player comes up, they shouldn't be dismissed just because of their age. I'm not saying Gundogan's the perfect answer for Chelsea, but there are kind of examples like that, which would be pretty good. I mean, one other rogue thing to do before we move on to Gusto, if Denis Zakaria finishes the season pretty well and shows good form like he has done before he got injured, I think we've got a buy option on him for I think maybe 35 million euros or something like that for as cheap as that.
I thought it's like 28 or something.
Well,
euros, you said. Okay.
Euros. Yeah. I've got to be honest, mate. We're talking about smart business and trying to do things properly now under the new ownership. If Zakaria carries on like he has done for the last few games before his injury, but I think at £35 million, even for a squad option, that really makes sense to me. I mean, it's a big if for him to continue his form, but if he does continue his form, mate, would you give serious consideration to making this stay permanent?
Yeah, I mean, in general, yeah. I think it kind of depends on outgoings because,
there's a lot in there.
If say Kante stays and isn't constantly injured anymore, or at least as constantly injured anymore, then I'm like, well, if you have Kante, you add one, maybe two midfielders, even if Jorginho leaves. But just get him and keep him for a season. And if he's not good enough, I'm sure we can probably sell him for profit.
Yeah, I would agree.
Once they've played at a Premier League club, I feel like value goes up. So.
Yeah, I mean, mate, I didn't know this. I mean, I haven't seen this stat.
I have seen this. After Mudryk was the fastest one, yeah, and then second was Anthony Gordon.
Oh, Anthony Gordon, yeah.
Yeah, third was Darwin Núñez. Fourth was Erling Haaland, and fifth was Zakaria.
Dennis, fuck yeah, mate. He doesn't look that rapid, does he? He must.
No. I've seen it in the last game he played before he got injured.
At Fulham.
One moment where he steamed back and not nicked the ball off one of the attackers when we were hitting the counter. Excuse me, how have you just got there?
Man's got pace. Fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's move away from midfield. Right back. Finally, seems like we're doing something.
As we just still talk about midfield, do you want to bring up the Telegraph thing that the chat has mentioned?
No, mate, I can't find it.
Just go on Telegraph Football. It's the first thing.
Is it the first? Oh, it's a new thing. Oh, we might as well carry on then. Oh yeah, Chelsea. Let's discuss this, mate. Chelsea prepares to rival Wolves for Matheus Nunes. Not Wolves, sorry, rival Liverpool. Yeah. I've got to be honest, mate. There was a lot of talk in the summer about Nunes. I'm surprised that he went to Wolves. Then I'm equally not surprised because Wolves are basically a Portuguese money laundering club. Basically, the Portuguese national team. Jorge Mendes essentially controls that club. I imagine that Nunes is represented by him. I mean, that could just be a poor assumption, but I think that is the case. I think he's a good midfield player. But again, I look at him and I think, well, what do you think, mate? It says prepared to compete with Liverpool. I mean, if it came down to it, I mean, do you like Nunes? Do you think he's a decent player? Would you take him?
if I'm going to be 100% honest with you, I haven't really watched Wolves at all this season.
But do you watch them at Sporting?
Champions League highlights type thing, or like when they were on the cycle here, like in terms of when they show all the games. So I've seen him play. He doesn't look like a bad player, but he is also 24. So I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I certainly wouldn't pick him over Caicedo or Enzo. I'll say that. Now, I can't open I can with certain ways, but I think then we might have issues with StreamYard. So I can't right now open the article because someone in the chat said it's for the summer. So I'm like, I don't really care what we're doing in the summer now.
Yeah, the summer's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
But I wouldn't like, if this is like a contingency plan for, say, we don't get Enzo and we don't get Caicedo, it wouldn't be the worst move in the world. He seems like a capable player. He can play midfield, can play defensively. That isn't exactly a goal threat.
But does it, for me though, does it do what we need to do? Is it someone that comes in and is an instant upgrade on what we've got? Probably yes, but is he going to...
It's difficult.
Well, it's difficult. That's difficult. But then it's also the point is, does he...
Is he better than Kovacic? That's really the question.
Does he improve our midfield in terms of, does he make it better?
He makes it better when we have constant injuries like Kante and Kovacic.
Yeah, he makes it better in terms of a squad rotation option. But does he actually, like, if you're putting in Mateus Nunes to start week in, week out, is that the sort of guy that is going to revamp your midfield and be like a star signing, as it were? I'm not sure if it was. I mean, talking of to be honest, mate, I'm not sure if he'd even be the one I'd be going for from Wolves. I mean, well, it's in the chat now, but I mean, Ruben Neves is always one that kind of gets linked with bigger teams, Arsenal, Man United, etc. in the past. If you're going to go for a Wolves midfielder, I mean, maybe you'd be more likely to look at Neves than Nunes. I don't really know. I mean, what are your thoughts on Ruben Neves?
It just seems that he's certainly physically better than Jorginho, but I feel like he seems about as slow. So that would be my only.
He's not blessed with
quite
pace.
As slow because who is as slow as Jorginho? But outside of, outside of that, he's a good player. Like I like myself a player that can score a screamer. Who doesn't? Every now and again, when we struggle to break a team down, I enjoy having myself a player in the team that can score from 30 yards. That is always good to have. Good at free kicks as well. There certainly benefits. Really good at dictating play, in my opinion. It's just always so difficult when these players that play for a team like Wolves, like people always say, buy Premier League proven players. But my issue with that is there's only so many teams that play similar styles to us in the Premier League. So that's why Brighton is the odd one out, because they're a team with a little less budget, but they still play like offensively, like tactically, like inept and stuff. But when you look at someone like Wolves, these lot have played. I mean, now it's maybe a bit different with Lopetegui. I haven't followed it enough. But until now, for the last 5 years straight, they've basically parked the bus and hit on the counter. So I'm like, how do I know whether their players are going to be any good for us? Because they've not played like we do for the last 5 years. So, they might be good players in what they've done for Wolves, but they do different things for us. So how can I know? I think people that claim to know, I think they're always lying, personally.
Yeah,
how can anyone know? If they play completely different things than they would for us, how can you know?
Well, this is it. I mean, people saying Sterling was Prem proven and we were excited by it, but proven in terms of like he's been playing in a Man City system with world-class players that play completely differently to Chelsea do. And he's come to Chelsea and he's struggling because the system is different. He's not playing with the same quality of players and whatnot. So, yes, you want players that know the league, but just because they're Premier League proven, it doesn't mean that they're going to hit the ground running straight away. They're still going to have to adapt to like a new way of playing and a new team. Right, finally moving away from midfield. It looks like a right back could be getting close. Malo Gusto of Lyon. I think he's 19 years of age. First bid was rejected. Apparently, I think we bid about 17 million pounds, 20 million euros. Lyon want between 30 and 40 million. It's been talked about euros. Yeah, it's been talked about that. They're trying to fight hard to get him back on loan for the rest of the season. As we said earlier, no, that doesn't suit us at all. We need a right back now. I think like a contract's been agreed in terms of there's buy-in from the player side. He wants to move. 6.5 year contracts has been kind of agreed, reported by L'Equipe in France. Mate, what are your thoughts on him? Makes sense. Again, it fits the profile of age, 19, hungry. He's actually versatile as well from what I've been looking at. Can play centre-back as well, apparently. So there's some versatility there. Apparently, he's been promised. Apparently, he's been promised minutes as well in terms of game time. Mate, does this tick all the boxes for you? Right back, good age profile, similar to Reece James in terms of his stature. He's good getting forward. For me, it kind of ticks all the boxes. Seems like a pretty good signing.
Absolutely. If anything, now obviously we haven't got it done yet, and let's see, because we know, just think back to a year ago, we were trying to get our own player back from Lyon, and they were absolutely not having none of it.
Yeah,
so it's not easy to negotiate with Lyon. So if we're not going to pay what they want, then I feel like we might just not get it. But hopefully we just pay what they want. But the impressive thing I find genuinely is that we convinced a 19-year-old right back in the position of Reece James to come to us. That's what I'm most impressed by this whole situation. Now, we haven't got him yet, but it seems like he's down. He's agreed terms, all sorts. Yeah. So that's why I'm impressive. That's why I'm super impressed. And genuinely, I would love to know what they tell these players about this project. I would love
Bodie's pitch must be unbelievable, mate.
Mate, it must be the best pitch in the whole world. Like, this is unbelievable. How would you, like, unless we're telling him, in like 2-3 years, we can sell you to, like, I don't know, Real Madrid or whatever, because we've got Reece James anyway, and then we'll just buy a new 19-year-old talented player to be back up to Reece. Fair enough. If that's the plan, I see it. I see logic behind it. Maybe, I mean, Rob, I'm sure you know him, Rob, the journalist on Twitter. Yeah. And he said a few times, maybe the plan is to play Reece James in other positions. I'm like, because the back four, I feel like people haven't really talked about that enough yet. The back four, playing a back four, will take Reece James' level of importance, especially in offensive importance, will take him out of that a little bit. Now, he will still get up the pitch, absolutely, but it can't be quite as much as a right back compared to as a right wing back. So would it be the biggest shock in the world if, okay, we sign Malo, instead of signing a midfielder, we put Reece James in midfield?
I mean, it's a rogue shout, but I don't know. But I also think, man, I'm also hoping that by playing a four and by the likes of Mudryk coming in, Madueke, Felix playing, and Kunku next season, that we suddenly become a team that, when Reece James doesn't play, that we don't suddenly turn to shit. Hopefully, that's the plan with these better players in, that hopefully we can actually not fall apart when he's not available. That's the ideal scenario. But I mean, Malo, I think it's a good deal. I think it's a good young player, hungry. Makes sense to bring him in now. Can have 6 months to kind of bed in, learn the league, get a few minutes here and there, bed in with a preseason, and hit the ground running next season. And he will play a lot of games, because we know Reece has been injury prone. We play a lot of games anyway. There's 5 subs as well. He will get plenty of minutes. So I guess let's wait and see kind of what happens with that. Let's move on to outgoings, because it's not really, those really are the 3 major incomings. Outgoings, seems to be a bit of stuff gathering pace potentially. What are your thoughts on this, mate? Chelsea are considering letting Hakim Ziyech go. Everton have turned towards him and are ready to pay up to 25 million for him. Now, I think 25 million is probably going to be the most we could probably get for Ziyech. 25, maybe 30 million tops. I don't think we're going to get much more.
What did we pay for him? 32 million pounds?
33, maybe 34 million pounds. It's not that much less. It could be a good time to sell Ziyech. He's obviously he's not part of the plans for the future. He's had a good few games. And it could be the right times to sell. I'm not saying he personally wouldn't choose to go to Everton, that's for sure. If Lampard was there, maybe it would have been maybe it could have been more likely, but still perhaps unlikely.
You know what I think? I'll be perfectly honest with you. Yeah. I think this is the typical report that in reality, this interest happened a week ago. Now Sky Sports learned about it.
Yeah.
But this was only relevant while Lampard was manager. And now that Lampard is not manager, especially the owners, haven't the owners put the club up for sale? Are they going to buy any more players before that? I guess they don't want to get relegated. Otherwise, they can't sell the club.
I guess the wider question is, would you sell Ziyech this month? If 25 million came in from not Everton, for example, but if it came in from a Newcastle or a club from abroad or whatever it was, would you be open to selling Ziyech this month?
It's so difficult, because a month ago I would have said, yeah, obviously. But now, obviously, most of our good players aren't currently playing. But the last few games, he's looked like
it's been all right.
Player that will create anything and do anything. So, like, obviously, aside from Mudryk, but now we also have Madueke. Sterling is going to come back. Again, I have my doubts about Madueke simply because of his injury record. If he can stay fit, I'm sure he'll be good. So it's just a bit of a where I'm like, should we maybe wait until the summer just to be safe? But then again, how many players are we going to have to get rid of in the summer then? So
Mate,
like,
we're going to
the
have to
more
do
it is, the
so
more
many
difficult it will
outgoings.
be.
Mate, the summer's going to be a joke in terms of how many players are going out. I'd expect like the summer to be focused more on outgoings. But I don't know. I agree. Look, we've got the likes of Madueke, we've got Sterling coming back. Pulisic will come back from injury as well. I mean, you could look at it and you could think, well, actually, do we actually need Hakim Ziyech? But then at the same time,
he's arguably better than Sterling.
he's probably been better than Sterling has been. So I'm not really sure, but I mean,
I think maybe like if we're honest with ourselves, maybe we just have to do it. The guys wanted to leave for a while.
Yeah, I think we have to. Yeah. I think that's basically.
Even if there's a little bit of doubt in me, I'm like, is it the best move? Maybe we just got to, you know.
I think we've got to as well. I mean, other news as well on outgoings relating to Christian Pulisic. Let me try and find it now. Fabrizio Romano saying that Chelsea's plan was to sell Pulisic after they signed a winger. So obviously signed Mudryk, signed Madueke, whatever. But then he got injured. I think it's pretty clear that
I'm surprised by that. You know,
you're surprised by that, are you?
Yeah, because
in terms of selling him this month, or in terms of wanting to sell him in general?
I mean, especially this month, because the 3 games before he got injured, he started all 3 in a row. If our plan is to sell the guy, why? You know, why? Like at the time we started Pulisic and Sterling. And it seems like the plan was more to sell him than Ziyech. So then surely why not play Sterling on the left and Ziyech if you're planning to sell Pulisic? Surely you didn't want to use the first 3 games of January to increase his value, right? But hey,
we never know.
Maybe if Fabrizio says so, it's probably true, right? So, but who, they keep saying this, it was our plan to sell Pulisic, but other than Newcastle, they've not told us about anyone that's interested.
Who's to be honest, mate? Look, Pulisic for me, he's not going to be here next season. I think that's quite clear. Whether we agree or disagree with that is another conversation. But I think it's obvious that he's not going to be here next season. He'll look to move on. How much money do you reckon we can actually get for him? Because we bought him for 63 million, mate.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Fucking.
I actually don't. Mate, I don't think we get. If we got 40 million for Pulisic, I'd take it now. I don't see how we get any more than that. Yeah. I really don't.
Yeah. 40 million. If you're talking like anything above 40 million, we've done well, I think.
But who's going to buy him? These are the problems we've got. Who's going to buy these? That is the problem,
because we don't want to give him to a Premier League rival like Newcastle, do we? Because especially now, do we want to help them? Like in a theoretical dream world, we still fight for top 4 by the end of the season, especially if we get a proper midfielder. So are we really going to help Newcastle defend top 4 against us? That seems stupid. But who is going to have the money outside of the Premier League to buy him? No one. So it's only going to be Premier League clubs that will have the money that we want, really. Because, obviously, Bayern and Real Madrid, PSG, those clubs have the money, obviously, but he's not going to be good enough for them to want him.
He's going to want to go. He's going to want to go somewhere where he's going to be like a first team regular, and
a perfect club would be like someone like Sevilla or something. That would be the perfect club.
Mate, they're in the relegation zone at the moment in La Liga.
But they have no money. No one in Spain has money, mate.
No, well, exactly. I mean, you look at it and you think maybe Serie A, but Juventus are fucked with their 15-point deduction and all that crap. Can they actually afford him? Maybe not.
Look at all Milan, others, like AC Milan, they've got Leao in that position. Napoli have got the Georgian.
Kvaratskhelia or something. I can't pronounce his name.
The only reason I don't want to try to say his name is because I'm going to butcher it. So that's why I try to refrain.
Yeah.
But Inter, I don't know who their left winger is, but do they even play a winger? I don't know. Do they not play a back 3?
I don't know who they play now.
Who over there is going to want him that has potentially got money? It's not going to be Bergamo. Atalanta don't have money, so they're not going to buy him.
Plus, Lookman's balling out this season anyway.
Exactly. And Roma, I mean,
maybe. Could be an option. I mean, if they sell Zaniolo, they'll be in the market for another wide player. It's a possibility, maybe. But yeah, look, I think it's clear that Pulisic is obviously gonna move on.
Can I just add to this? Sorry, again.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, I would like to keep Pulisic as a backup. The thing is just, I don't think he will want to be a backup. But in an ideal world, if you have like Mudryk and then his backup being Pulisic for the left wing, and then on the right side you have Sterling and Madueke, I'll be quite content with that. But then if we sell
is he going to want to stay as
the left wing backup? Like, who's going to be that? Because it needs to be someone.
Well, what if we sign João Felix on a permanent? He could play off the left if he wants to.
Well, yeah, if that's the plan for him to play, but he's not going to be back up to Mudryk, is he?
But of course, what I mean is though, like if we sign a 9, for example, Nkunku could be a backup to the left, or could be an option to play on the left. You know, there are options there. I don't really know, to be perfectly honest. It is a tricky one. I mean, also outgoings gather in as well in terms of like Conor Gallagher and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I know Ruben's your guy and you love him. Do you think that this season, I don't expect him to go this window, but do you expect this to be his last season, particularly with the midfield revamp we're looking at doing as well? It would appear that perhaps his days could be numbered at the club. Do you think Chelsea will look to sell him?
I think depending on the offer, we might say yes. In my opinion, again, I might be slightly biased. I think having him as a squad player is a good thing to have, because he's not going to cause issues not playing every game. Never will. He can play right wing back when necessary. He can play centre mid. He has played a single 6. He's played centre back. He's played in a double pivot. He's played as an 8. He's played as a 10. My God, Conte even played him as a striker. So, like, if you're going to have that player to be for when you really have bad injury issues, like right now, obviously currently he's one of those injured ones. I don't think he's a bad player to have as a squad player. Now, I understand when he's required to play too much, just as a stat to throw out there. When we got back from the World Cup, so by that point, only Mason Mount had more appearances this season than Loftus-Cheek. I think at that point, Mount had 21, Ruben had 20. Now, not all of them necessarily from the start, but still. So, like, he shouldn't be our second most used player. I 1,000,000% agree. But that is only caused by the amount of injuries we had, right? So if we have a better squad and less injuries, then Ruben coming on from the bench to bring some physicality, Ruben coming on from the bench to bring a good dribbler, Ruben coming on from the bench to bring some high defending set pieces,
being dangerous in cup games and things like that. Yeah,
I don't think that's going to be the worst thing in the world.
No. I mean,
but if a good offer comes in, you probably should take it.
I mean, can't sell everyone this summer anyway. Jorginho probably is likely to leave. Kante could leave as well. Still
he's
think
not
it's only
going to be one, but
one of those will probably leave. And then you're thinking, right, 2 come in, and then you're probably thinking one of Ruben or Gallagher will leave. Now, moving on to Conor Gallagher, he's probably one of Chelsea's players that could get decent money, probably 35-40 million pounds. He started the last 2 games. I actually think he's done all right in the last 2 games. Not perfect, not amazing, but he's not been terrible.
Well, against Palace, he was very good, actually.
What are your thoughts on his future? Because again, he's another one that could be a decent squad player, but then at the same time, he's young. He probably wants to play. He's not going to be a regular at Chelsea unless some sort of miraculous transformation happens. If you're Chelsea and you get 40 million pounds in the summer from a Newcastle, from a Crystal Palace or whatever it is, do you take it?
Yeah, you have to. Like, again, similar things apply to what I said about Ruben, except that technically Ruben is obviously far, far superior to Conor Gallagher. There's probably going to be people to disagree with that, but to me, that is very clear. Just look at them. You just need a 2-minute comp of both is enough to see that, in my opinion. But he, like you say, he's the one that will bring in the most money of those, like, squad edge players that we could sell without, like, drastically taking anyone big out of the team. So, like, for me, you have to sell him if you get reasonable money. Not because I don't think he's good. I actually think there's a player in him, and I'm sure if he gets a little bit of more time, a player like Potts, I'm sure, can refine him a little bit technically, and then he won't look as much out of place as he sometimes does at the moment. Even though, again, like you say, the last 2 games in particular, Palace was good. But just because of the fee he would bring in compared to others, I think you have to take the money. And even though I feel bad because the guy seems very, very adamant to try his very flippant best, like Ruben, to make it at Chelsea. Like, remember when he was at Palace and he did that interview with Rio Ferdinand, he literally said, make it clear that I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to make it at Chelsea. And even now, he has interest. And until now, the last couple of weeks, he didn't exactly play a lot. And there's nothing from him trying to search for a move. So, like, I do respect that. I know a lot of people, especially at the moment with the whole Cobham agenda mount and what, other than Reece, everyone's getting it, basically. Ruben has the lowest football IQ I've ever seen. Well, you've just not watched enough football, mate. That's cool. Like, no, sorry. Have you ever watched a League Two game?
The lowest football IQ.
Also, have you heard of Marcus Alonso? But anyway, or Timo Werner for that matter. But anyway, like, I think having someone that really properly cares for the club is a good thing. Again, that doesn't mean they need to start every game. I'm not saying that. But to have a player like that to bring on to see out a game, the more they care, the harder they're going to try. So, like, for seeing out games, that's going to be the most useful, right? Is it not? I'm not sure how people disagree with this. Obviously, ability over caring, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
But if you're going to combine the two, I'd rather have someone with the same ability that cares than someone with the same ability that doesn't care. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. And we need to get more people, more players, characters in the team that actually care about the club and want to play for the club.
We complain about the players don't try, and we throw the toys in the pram and the towel in. But then also people want to get rid of the few that will not do that. I just find it weird.
I mean, I think this is a little bit wishful thinking from EPL turf. 40 mil for Pulisic, 50 for Havertz, 25 Ziyech, 45 mil for Cover. I don't know who's paying that. 10 mil for Aubameyang. Don't know who's paying that either.
You're gonna have to pay 10 million to get Aubameyang to sign for anybody.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Just quickly, I don't know if I asked you about this, but I think when that squad clear out thing initially came out from Matt Law a few weeks back, and they were saying that, and he said in there that Chelsea would be prepared to potentially cut their losses on Koulibaly. Yeah. Does that surprise you?
No, if I'm honest, no.
Really?
After we signed Badiashile, it doesn't, because otherwise, why would we have signed Badiashile? Because we have Colwill there. Apparently, we want to give him a new contract and have plans for him next summer. So then, if you have Fofana, we now want to give Thiago Silva a contract extension. You have Chalobah, who we've refused apparently multiple offers for. So then, why would you sign Badiashile if you have plans for Colwill, if you also have plans for Koulibaly? So I wouldn't be shocked by that at all, if I'm honest. And not because I think it's fair on him. I think he would deserve another season. Just because I think everyone deserves at least 18 months. If by 18 months you still haven't settled at all, then it is what it is. But if the problem is settling to a new league, new surroundings, blah, 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 if that's the issue, I think 18 months is what you can feasibly give a player. And if they haven't figured it out by then it's done. But hey, if we get a good enough offer, and we have, but I know Badiashile has only played 2 games, but in those 2 games, look better than any game Koulibaly played.
Oh, mate, the biggest compliment I could give Badiashile is that he looked like he's been playing in this league for years.
Yeah. No, not even just in this league, in this flipping team, man.
Yeah.
Just so good.
Mate, I was really surprised at how well he's done. And people go on about Gvardiol and could we go back in the summer? Who knows? I would say probably not. But you're looking at it. I know we're basing it off 2 games, but 35 million for Badiashile
right now it's like absolute
compared to potentially 90 million for Gvardiol. Like it's a bit of a
what he cost less than Koulibaly and he's 10 years younger.
Yeah, exactly. This geezer's still 21. Like it's mad.
Exactly.
Like, but I don't know. I don't know with Koulibaly. It's a tricky one because he has struggled. But then you're thinking, well, where does he fit in? If Silva stays, as you say, Colwell comes back, if there's plans for him, Chalobah, Fofana, Badiashile, we might sign another one. Like,
I don't even can you if you play a back 4, you can't have more than 5 centre backs, surely.
No, you can't. But and
we're already on 5. If we include Colwell in the squad now, so
I wouldn't even rule out signing another centre back. If there was an option to sign Gvardiol in the summer, I think we'd be on it. I reckon we'd probably look at it. I
think for the money reasons we might not, because if we can afford Gvardiol, we can afford Enzo right now. That's my
this is also true. Just to round out, mate, just wanted to quickly get your thoughts on Mudryk. Because I haven't spoken to you since the Liverpool game. I know it was only 35 minutes. What were your thoughts?
Mate, I'm a huge fan.
It was exciting. It was exciting to see someone run at players, take players on, do creative passes, quick, good with his feet. Everything that we've not had in the attack for years and years. I mean, yes, it's going to have, he's like, you can't judge him off, like, you can't say he's going to be amazing just off 35 minutes. But in terms of a 35 minutes, it's not bad.
Mate, it's one hell of a 35 minutes. I know Liverpool have their own struggles, but still, how many players do you see making their debut away at Anfield and do what he did? Like that's not a thing that happens. Especially
he's rapid as well.
That struggles.
Mate, he's so quick.
It's unbelievable. Like I know it was against James Milner, but people use that as a negative for Mudryk. Earlier in the game, Milner outpaced Mason Mount. No, he did.
No, he did.
When you then compare how Mudryk just absolutely flattened Milner, I know Milner was 37, and by then we were in the second half of the game, so maybe Milner wasn't as quick anymore. But Mudryk looked literally amazing and everything. Maybe the touch could be slightly improved. There was the one heavy touch when he put it out of play, and the cross where I think he should have tried a volley, and he tried to control it and he went out of play. Those are the only two moments I'm like,
mate, I'm so disappointed that his quick feet in the box and that shot didn't go in. That was. If he scores I don't want to say it because might be a bit overreactory, but it was Hazard-esque. Like it's the first. To be honest, about he's played 35 minutes. It's
Hazard-esque, but Hazard would not have shot after that though.
No, but it's 35 minutes. It's 35 minutes, but it's like it's the first player since Hazard where I'm genuinely excited when he gets the ball.
Yeah,
to see what he can do. Like, I don't get excited when any other players get the ball.
A little bit had it for Felix, but obviously he ruined it for himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's too early to judge with him. But in terms of like players that get the ball and get you excited, there's been none in this team since Hazard left. And I genuinely think that Mudryk could be that guy in terms of excitement, pace, good with his feet.
And also the work ethic that he seems to have. Like, again,
mate, the guy's smashing the gym all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't know if maybe there's others that do this as well, but they didn't just move for reportedly 100 million euros, so they're not going to get this much, that kind of coverage.
Yeah.
But like if say Mason Mount or Reece James did that, they're Cobham players, so no one's going to make drama. They're doing extra work in the gym. Everyone's going to know, well, obviously. But because the new big signing they're going to talk about. So maybe he's not quite the only one, but even if he's only one of 3 or 4, that's still already good. Do you know what I mean? Especially like, you could always you finally make your dream move out of Ukraine to the Premier League, regardless of whether it's Chelsea, Arsenal, or anybody else. I think the Premier League was the big thing for him. But, at least the first 2 weeks, it certainly hasn't looked like that has made him drop his work rate at all. So, it says it on his flipping tattoo, on his flipping whatever.
Yeah, it's like, on his neck. Yeah.
Yeah, it says talent ain't enough, but the talent is crossed out, even though doesn't that kind of contradict the statement?
I'm not really sure. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't understand.
Ain't enough.
I mean, it's a pretty cool tat. I can't lie, and only certain people could rock that. I mean, I couldn't imagine myself with that. But if I had that on my
imagine if it's your only tattoo and that's your tattoo, everyone's going to think you're
if that was
25 others, it's fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if I had that on my neck, I think.
I reckon you could work it, bro.
I'm not sure I'll be working it. I don't think it would suit me. Because I'm not.
I reckon if Mudryk gets top goal scorer, you should get that tattoo.
Nah, absolutely.
At least in a head, not permanently, maybe.
Oh, not permanently. I cannot rock. I'm not a baller. I cannot have a tattoo that says talent ain't enough.
I reckon for a super chat you should.
Yeah,
£100 super chat.
Mate, I'd have to turn the super chat function on first to even get to that.
Oh, you should. You should.
Mate, I should. To be fair, I should do that. Mate, seems like a good point to round out. Positive news as well. Injuries are coming back. Obviously, we don't play this weekend, which is a little bit strange. Because we've been playing so much recently, but we got humiliated in the cup, so it's a weekend off for us. And then
get drawn with City away in both of the first rounds.
How much
bad luck of the draw can you have?
And then we play on a Friday night as well next week.
Which we haven't. I feel like done.
I was going to say, mate, when have we? I can't remember. I don't think we've been since Sky started doing Friday night football. Obviously, it'd be different with your broadcasters and that, but since Sky started doing Friday night football for the Premier League. I'm pretty sure we've never played on a Friday night. I mean, that might be
once. Did we maybe play like a West Ham away on a Friday, maybe, or was it a Monday? Could have been a Monday as well.
That could have been a Monday.
Mate, Fridays or Mondays we haven't played a lot of either.
No, we haven't. But I mean, that'd be nice. Friday night under the lights, Fulham. Mate, it's weird, isn't it, playing Fulham again so quickly after we last played them?
Yeah,
and
we could play Liverpool very soon again as well. Whenever they finally decide to place that fixture.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to put it. I wouldn't be surprised if they put that fixture towards the end of the season for TV reasons.
Could be. Or obviously, if both of us go out of the Champions League eventually, then they might just put it in a midweek somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be a midweek game, or it'll be like a whatever it is.
But later FA Cup weekend. Who do Liverpool play in the FA Cup this weekend? Do you know?
Brighton away.
All right, so they're getting spanked then.
Mate, I wouldn't be surprised if they got done, but it is hard to tell. But yeah, mate. Just to round out, what are your hopes for the rest of the window? Gusto and Caicedo. That would make it a 10 window.
Yes. But and if it's Enzo, it makes it a 17 window, I guess. but yeah, I mean, my dreams are Gusto and Enzo. My hopes are Gusto and Caicedo, and my minimum expectations are Gusto and a decent
anyone. Yeah. Just anyone. Yeah, I think. If we do Gusto and Caicedo, I think that's the best January window of all time.
Yeah, genuinely.
I think it genuinely is if we can get both those two deals done. But let's wait and see what happens. Less than a week to go. Could be a surprise name could pop out the hat. You just never know what Todd Boehly and co are going to do. That's kind of the beauty of it. You know, you just don't know. So let's wait and see what happens. Mate, thanks so much for your time. As always, guys, make sure you subscribe to Lawrence's channel. Mate, you're well past 16K now, aren't you? Well, you are.
Nearly 16.3 now, so we're doing okay.
Phenomenal. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Link in the description below. Actually, the at's in the description, so you can just click on. Exactly. You just click the at, and it takes you straight there. So make sure you do that. For myself, please do subscribe to the channel. Heading towards 3K, we're getting there. We're getting there. So make sure you do that. Subscribe to the channel. Smash the likes on the stream. And I don't know. There's no match preview this week, so I don't know when I'll be back. Maybe in a couple of days with some more news.
I mean, it's deadline day soon, so you know.
We'll definitely be back deadline day. That's next week. Let's wait and see what happens. I'll probably be back in a couple of days with some more news if there's been any significant updates. So yeah, thanks for getting involved in the chat as always, guys. And we'll catch you again soon.